Hello and welcome. You're watching NewsX with me, Devika Devan. The government has decided, viewers, to build a new rupees 13,000 crore greenfield civil military airport as part of the Great Nicobar Project instead of expanding the existing naval airfield at INS Baaz. A move that comes amid an intensifying debate over the rupees 81,000 crore mega development project on the ecologically sensitive island. Reports reveal that the proposed dual-use airport will come up at Chinjen near the Galathea Bay on the Great Nicobar's southeastern coast and will serve both civilian and military aviation needs. The location is strategically significant as it lies close to the western approaches of the Malacca Strait, one of the world's busiest maritime choke points linking the Indian Ocean and the South China Sea. The new airport is expected to be completed within 5 years and will remain under naval operational control while serving civilian aviation needs. A substantial share of global container traffic and energy shipments pass through these waters, making the island a key vantage point for monitoring maritime activity in the eastern Indian Ocean. Officials say the airport will strengthen India's ability to monitor and respond to developments along this critical trade route. The decision effectively shelves long-standing plans to extend the runway at the Indian Navy's INS Baaz Air Station in Campbell Bay. The airport is one of 4 major infrastructure components proposed under the Great Nicobar Island Development Project, whose overall cost is estimated at rupees 81,000 crores. At the heart of the project is a planned international container transshipment terminal at the Galathea Bay, intended to reduce India's dependence on foreign hubs such as Singapore and Colombo for cargo shipment. The government has consistently defended the project as a critical strategic investment that would strengthen India's presence in the Indo-Pacific region, improve connectivity and leverage Great Nicobar's proximity to one of the world's busiest shipping corridors. What does this truly mean for India? I take this conversation forward with Commander Bhushan Devan. We also have with us Group Captain UK Devnath, Mr. Sushil Dwivedi, an environmentalist, and Himanshu Bhatt, senior journalist, with us. Let me begin with Commander Devan. Commander Devan, I want to understand from you, sir, in your assessment, how critical is this project for India from both a defense as well as an industry perspective?
Thank you, Devika. Let us see the things in context. You know that Great Nicobar Island is 1.25 times greater than Singapore. And look at Singapore per capita income and the kind of industry, the kind of population there, 6 to 7 million. So the point I'm saying is, India is a large country, and our Andaman and Nicobar Islands have a huge potential for us to show our presence in the same way in which our geography spread is. And see, states of Malacca, one of the greatest choke points. Navy's main role is, preserving the integrity of SLOC. SLOC as in sea lines of communication. Now, if China, it has to be checkmated before they do something mischief with us, our presence there is crucial. Having said this, let me tell you, we are not even a minute late, but this project fully developed will take 30 years to happen. And INS Baaz is one thing which is commissioned in 2012, and to the extent that, look at Hormuz, just because of the Iran's control on Hormuz, the world is in turmoil. As Iran has rightly put it, Iran says Hormuz is our nuclear bomb, and we in India are occupying it now, making our presence felt there now. Rather late, but better late than never. As they say in human body also, what you don't use it or lose it. Like today we have used mobile phone, calculators, we have forgotten how to, simple tables, multiplication. We have forgotten, our memory also going for a 6. So these lands, crucial lands, if we don't assert our presence there, we are going to lose them to the world. And Cocoa Island next doors, Pearl of Islands, string of pearls which China is encircling us up to Djibouti. Now this is the gateway, eastern gateway to Indian Ocean, and India needs to be right there. That doesn't mean ecology can be we can ride roughshod over the ecological concerns. The issue is forestry. That is not a major issue because that plantation in the other areas can be done. A. Corals take thousands of years to build up. Now those can also be transplanted. Third thing, the transshipment port of 14 million TEU. Fourth thing, the airport of, think the context is Singapore. And in Seychelles, we know Seychelles is a country. Their total area, inhabitable area is 500, half the Great Nicobar. So, we think Great Nicobar is somewhere back or beyond. No, it's as big as a country like Seychelles. And India has been struggling to get an island base in Seychelles. It was with us sometime, it went out of our hand and so on and so forth. So we have to use these unsinkable aircraft carrier in the form of Great Nicobar and you are overlooking Phuket, you are overlooking Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia, in that region, and we talk of look east, we talk of ASEAN. Now look east begins here, just 80 nautical miles from Indonesia. That's the Indira Point versus Aceh. I have worked in Indonesia for 2-3 years, and the point I'm making is we are going to use it or lose it. And this is not permanently. The noise I'm hearing is, no, this is to favor some people, businessmen. Leh Ladakh, why, if we don't occupy now, what government is doing? Let there be tourism, let there be, you make a presence felt. So civilians movement there is very crucial to assert India's ownership there. And that is a supplementary thing over and above the armed forces. So imagine inhabiting another Singapore through Great Nicobar. We need to do it, not a minute late, and we are on the main artery choke point of the global trade. So we have to do it very fast, very quickly, and money will be, of course, going up big time. Already 81,000 crores is being said. That is RE, revised estimates. Now that is already we are talking 90,000 crores. And transshipment port is an issue we don't understand. Vizianagaram we are talking about. Now transshipment, we are losing fares to the tune of logistic fares to the tune of 50% more. If we have our own transshipment ports, then we don't have to pay to Singapore, which is not far away. We don't have to pay to Dubai, don't have to pay to Kalang, don't have to pay to so many things, and Colombo. So this is a thing which has to go forward. And last, he who rules oceans rules the world. If India has a ambition to be a global power, a huge Indian Ocean, well, Indo-Pacific, this is not a minute late for us to do this. We ought to have done it yesterday.
Okay, all right. So let me also bring in the other defense perspective there from Group Captain UK Devnath before I bring in our other guests. Group Captain UK Devnath, as Commodore Dewan pointed out, this is something that we perhaps should have done earlier, but of course there are considerations. It's an ecologically sensitive island. One has to be very careful, but it's not as though other ecologically sensitive islands have not been developed across the world. Why is it that India is not being able to really find that balance, and the government now has to do a lot of convincing to make us understand today the strategic importance of some of the areas that are genuinely under our supervision and administration and are a part of India, but we're just not being able to utilize them like the rest of the world is utilizing their straits and their waterways. We see how everything today, Group Captain UK Devnath, is being weaponized. I'm not saying that India at any point will be weaponizing the territories that fall under it, but we're not far from the day when you can see the threats really that have been looming within the Indian Ocean really coming to the surface vis-a-vis the presence of a China. So Group Captain UK Devnath, is there now time to really strike that balance between maintaining the ecological sanctity of an Andaman and Nicobar and at the same time developing it for India's use and for the world's use?
Definitely, Devika, environmental concerns have to be paid heed to. But having said that, I'll go back to defense requirements. See, our strategic thought is very, very clear. We have to dominate Strait of Malacca. Indian Navy, Indian Army and Indian Air Force have already formed a Tri-Services Command at Andaman Nicobar. All the three services have repetitively conveyed to government that the existing infrastructure at Andaman and Nicobar does not support that kind of infrastructure which is required, which will be required 50 years hence to support a big army deployment, a big naval deployment, and which will support a huge air force development ex Andaman Nicobar Islands for dominating state of Malacca. China, definitely a big threat. They have extended their naval dominance practically to East China Sea, South China Sea, and they are creeping towards the Indian Ocean. Do we see Chinese submarines and ships in Indian Ocean? Yes, very often. An estimate is there at any time 10 to 12 Chinese naval ships or 2 to 4 Chinese submarines, and at any time 6 to 8 Chinese fishing trawlers, which are actually spy ships snooping India, are in Bay of Bengal, in Indian Ocean, or in Arabian Sea. We have to be in a position at Andaman Nicobar to dominate state of Malacca. Now, a basic requirement, since I was in Air Force, I'll speak from Air Force point of view. We need a big runway. We need a runway which can withstand weight of heaviest of our aircraft like P-8I, or in future we will have air-to-air refuelers landing at Andaman Nicobar. Similarly, we need a long runway, say 12,000 feet long runway, which can sustain and permit takeoff and landing by very heavily laden transport aircraft, air-to-air refuelers, and if required, our fighter bombers. The existing runway at Andaman Nicobar, we have carried out regular trials and joint exercise with Indian Navy. Jaguars have operated from there, but because the runway is rather small, Jaguars had to operate only with half the number of bombs, only half the number of drop tanks they can carry. So that itself cuts down operational flexibility of the commander. So in future, we are going to deploy Sukhoi 30 there. Maybe the Rafale M will operate from there. Even the land version of Rafale will operate from there. We want that pilot should be able to carry full bomb load, air-to-air missile load, and drop tanks with the manufacturer permits. So Devika, we need a big runway there, 12,000 feet plus long with heavy LCN. LCN means load carrying number, which will support weight of heaviest aircraft of Indian Air Force and Indian Navy too. Yes, Devika?
Right, absolutely. Then let me bring in on that note Mr. Sushil Dwivedi, who is an environmentalist. Mr. Dwivedi, what are some of the concerns that perhaps environmentalists such as yourself have with this project, and what can the government possibly do to now assuage some of these concerns?
Okay, thank you, Devika, for inviting me. Actually, it is evident that there are so many messages that we people are getting from the climate or from the earth. And we are constantly ignoring those coded messages in the form of our development. So our latest incidents, that is the development at the Great Nicobar Island, it is creating severe environmental threat to the pristine ecosystem. It is already clear that clearing over 130 square kilometer of the old growth rainforest that will destroy critical habitat for endangered wildlife, endangered indigenous tribes, and erase centuries-old biodiversity. People should know about that is the rainforest or forests are known as lungs of the planet. We people obtain various things from our biodiversity. We people fulfilling our necessity, roti, kapra, makan, and other things, as well as medicine from biodiversity. And since it is the pristine ecosystem, it is containing very precious biodiversity. So it is my concern that when this project will be carried on, so there should be a retrospection, so that the massive deforestation Actually, as you have already told, as well as other expert also telling that the project treating to the fell roughly 9 lakh tree. As earlier speaker have said, that there is the latest technique by the help of which we can transplant the tree. I'm also knowing that nowadays old tree can be transplanted from one place to another place, as well as there is the afforestation or reforestation is also being done. But the question is, how many tree remains in the future? I belong from the Uttar Pradesh, Bundelkhand, and every year here the plants and we are planted, and every year Guinness World Records being set up. But after 1 year, those plants will not be found here. So this is the main concern. We are at one time we are deforesting, we are cutting the tree. So this is one of the concern. Second is we are disturbing the marine and wildlife disruption. We people are living for our well-being and for our comfort and other thing. We people are doing lot of the things that will make our life easier. But what is the mean of such development which are creating problem to we people in the form of climate change, in the form of global warming, in the form of tsunami, in the form of Chakravat, in the form of loss of the coral reef, loss of the biodiversity, marine and wildlife ecosystem, loss of the endangered giant leatherback turtle. That is the home of that. These turtles are found at the Great Nicobar Island. So we should think about this earth belong to not only for us, it is also belong to the other creatures that are found on the planet. And coral reef are supposed to be the hot spot of biodiversity. Coral reefs are the unique structure that are formed in the ocean in the development in the evolutionary pathway of the millions of the year. And we all know that the Great Nicobar Island is situated, most of the part is situated on the coral reef. So there is another thing, that is the tribal vulnerability. There are the project poses an existential threat to the tribal vulnerability, especially the Sompen, a semi-nomadic indigenous hunter that gather tribe by drastically altering their native place. So who gave us the power to destroy our environment, destroy the endangered animal, destroying the tribals? So it is my humble request to retrospect and think about these all concerned and try to
Okay.
fulfill, try to sort out these all problems, and thereafter such type of the development may be carried on.
Okay, all right. I want to bring in Himanshu Bhatt as well. Himanshu Bhatt, the government has clarified some of these points, wherein they've spoken about the tribal communities that are living, that they will not be facing relocation. They're also saying that the project will be complying with the Shompen policy of 2015, where they've re-notified additional land to actually increase the net tribal reserve area. As far as the ecological concerns are there, we've not really heard much from the government on that aspect. But Himanshu, how do we then strike that balance? Because like I said, we don't live in a world today where we can really have any faith in a country other than our own. We can't have a trust in the United States of America. We can't trust China. We see how so much of geographical land around the world is either being fought for or is being weaponized. In those circumstances, how does India establish a balance between, yes, like I said, it's important to maintain the ecological sanctity of the Great Nicobar Islands, but at the same time, there are strategic concerns that we have. How do we address those?
See, Devika, what you asked is a genuine question. But the issue here is, I look at it a little politically. Under the guise of climate change and environment and ecology, people are trying to put an enormous pressure on the government, which must not be tolerated. And if you want to put that pressure, first let us know who told you so. We are talking in terms of tribals and nomads. You know what is the total people there? 27,000. They could be properly relocated in their own environment. What we are talking about? Deforestation of 130 square kilometers. Government has promised 97 kms of reforestation or the transplants. See, measures are being taken, and the name itself to this airport is given what? Greenfield Airport. It's going to be military cum civil. We are taking precautions. And if you see the last, climate change summit, Paris, who is adhering to that? Are the Western countries adhering to that? Or India is adhering to that? We are adhering to that. Now today we are making all this big noise on the name of environment, the great ecology of Nicobar Islands. But when you are surrounded by the ring of pearls, this place you need to develop your defenses, that you are sitting on a gateway and observing everything. What happened to us? In the Bay of Bengal, when the 7th Fleet came in 71, were we able to find out? Were we able to notice that? It was the Russian submarines that came and helped us. What are we talking about today in 2026? Don't we need this development? Don't we need this transshipment hub? So that the traffic which is supposed to be dealt by Bharat, India, doesn't go to Colombo and doesn't go to Singapore. We have to have our own thing. We are, as my defense panelists very clearly said, we are late. Better late than never. That should be the case, It's something like this, when we are looking at East, and if we are not going to control the maritime routes, how are we going to expand our trades? How are we going to take care of our ships, merchant ships that sail through that? If we are not going to have a control here through Nicobar Island ports or through Nicobar Island airfields, how are we going to control Malacca when China comes and chokes? I would rather want a particular political party to make their agenda clear and make it clear to the people of 140 crores that what did they sign in 2008 with Chinese Communist Party? Was this the thing? That you will never develop facilities here. I have a very serious acquisition of that and a serious reservation, because after so many years, that stalwart of the party, who generally doesn't make a political statement, comes out and writes an edit in a newspaper or writes an op-ed page that we are harming the environment, same environment. Who has done that? Who did that with Narmada, Sardar Sarovar Dam? Who did that with Kudan? I need some straight answers. And some people are trying to, the same way put an obstacle or delay it by another 10 years in Great Nicobar. That is what is my worry. And that's why I'm saying, better late than never. We need this on a war footing. Just imagine, Devika, in today's geopolitical situation, if we have one transshipment hub at Nicobar and the second one develop somewhere in West Bengal, Haldia or somewhere, what would be our capacity? How many people can then, play fools with us in this area, which we consider our own? Lot of things have been said by defense people, so I'm not going to repeat them. But all I'm trying to say you is, this is a project which is the need of an hour for Bharat to progress further. If we want our trade to go up, if we want our defenses to be ace, number one, this is the place where if they try and choke you in Malacca, we will have an apt answer to them. And that's why it is required. I look at it that way. And this, climate and other things, this is a toolkit which is very, 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 very old. They have been trying this. They tried this with Narmada. They tried this with Kudan. They tried with so many places. Now they are going to try this here. But let me tell you a simple thing. Bharat's Prime Minister said, Indian Prime Minister said in a Paris climate change summit that we will use 50% of natural energy, renewable energy, and we achieve by 2030, he said. By 2025-26, we have achieved that target. So India is doing everything to preserve the environment of the world. Let's not worry about that. Let these Western people worry, because they have outsourced their pollution to China for 20-25 years, and now they are telling us that you need to do this for climate and you need to do that for climate. We are not going to listen for that, Devika.
Right, absolutely. On that note, I've run out of time, but I thank all of our guests for joining us on the broadcast with those diverse perspectives. We leave it there and slip into a very short break.